Make a Difference Ventures is a transitional technology company that is decentralizing energy for our world, founded by world-class energy experts to solve the greatest root problem facing humanity today: energy. Our mission is to decentralize the global energy grid and bring clean, affordable energy to everyone through funding by the people, instead of the Wall Street fat cats. Invest today and join the movement at mad.energy.
So who is Steve Youngdahl?
Who is Steve?
Story?
Okay, well, I'm 66, so that could be a long story. I'm going to try to make it short for you. I grew up in Sonoma, California, which is in the heart of the wine country. And I guess it should be no surprise that my first real job in life was working at a winery. And I worked at Sebastiani Vineyards for about 8 years. Roughly half that time, August Sebastiani, the patriarch, was in charge. And when he passed away, his eldest son, Sam, took over the winery, and we commenced to rebranding the winery. And it was a huge amount of work, and it was a lot of fun. And we came up with a new line, did all of the marketing behind it and rolled it out, and it was hugely successful. And I don't know, which I found out, I didn't know this at the time, but about a 7 to 8 year cycle for me, and then I got to move on to the next challenge. So I did. I went from the winery and started a real estate career, which also lasted about 8 years, at which time Sonoma was getting too crowded, and picked up the family and we moved to North Idaho because it reminded me a lot of what the small town of Sonoma was when it was a small town. And we've been here for 30 years, raised the kids here, and generally have had a good time. So when I landed here, I opened up a mortgage company. I'd always wanted to do that. So I just took advantage of the fact that we were making a change and seemed like a good opportunity. It was hugely successful. We were the largest mortgage company in town for many years. But then again, I think that career lasted one of my longest. That was probably 10 years. And then it was, I had trained half my competition in town, and I really needed to do something different. So I really did something different. I went into farming. We had some acreage outside of town. A friend of mine had joined a co-op, and they were growing St. John's wort. And that sounded intriguing. And so I went ahead. I said, let's do it. I took the leap, and we started farming. And it was hard work, but I really enjoyed it. I could still remember my oldest son, who's now 36, as a young teenager on the tractor plowing the fields, and he loved it. So it was fun. It was hard work, and I failed miserably at it. Found out that farming's kind of tough, and you could do everything right, and then even if the weather treats you bad, it can be a total failure. So I got that out of my system, and I decided to get back in my lane, so to speak, which was marketing and sales and finance. And so I had a friend of mine had a financial counseling company, and he had been after me, and I said, you know what? I'm getting out of the farming business, and I went ahead and worked with him for quite a number of years. And then once again, it was like, okay, I'm ready for the next challenge. And at that point in time, LED lights had just exploded onto the field, and it was a great opportunity. And I went, I can do this. And I love getting out and talking to people. So I opened up a business and did extremely well at it, and really actually enjoyed it quite a bit. And there I am, just selling LED lights, having a good time. And my buddy George rings me up and says, I got this idea and I need your help with it. And so we got together and he laid out his vision for Make a Difference. And it sounded really intriguing. So I thought, let's do it. Besides the fact that he's my best buddy and we get along really good, just an opportunity for us to work together. And so we have been hard at it for a couple of years now. And we have successfully gotten some traction and off the ground. We got some projects started and it's very gratifying. I love the mission and I love the people that it attracts. So the people that are attracted by the mission is the common denominator. So it's been a gas. I mean, I've really enjoyed it. I also get to have my daughter and my son-in-law here, which is a big bonus for me. And I look forward to getting this company to the point where we'll step off to the board and have the younger generation run it. So I guess that's my life in a nutshell. I have, I've got a wife, 3 kids. The kids are fully grown. They're out of the house, but they're all successful, productive members of society. I will make a note here that although I failed at farming, our youngest son actually went to University of Idaho, graduated in sustainable food system, and he is now a farmer. And so I get to live my farming dream vicariously through my youngest son as he runs the organic orchard for the University of Idaho right here in Sandpoint.
So in that respect, it was not a failure.
Well, there you go. See, it came in a different form than what I originally thought it would be.
Exactly. Well, there's a lot to unpack there, Steve. So you have expertise and have been very successful in finance, marketing, and sales. Can't say I'm surprised that farming wasn't your thing, but that's okay. It worked out, right? You inspired your son to get into that field, which is so cool.
Yeah.
But with that, how did you first meet George Wentz? When did that come about?
Well, okay, that's a funny story. So when my youngest son that I told you is a farmer, when he was in middle school and I was coaching junior tackle football, George moved his family to Sandpoint, and he took his son Rob, who's my son's age, to the doctor for a physical, for sports physical, because he wanted to play football. And so he's asking the doctor, who just also happens to be our family physician. He says, "Hey, who do I call around here, to get Robbie into football?" And he goes, "Oh, here, just call Youngdahl." So George rings me up, says, "I'm George. We just moved here. I got a son and wants to play football." And I was coaching. We had 2 8th grade teams, and I was the coach for one. And then we had some other coaches that were. So we had rival teams. And I'm thinking, well, this is the perfect opportunity to pick up another player. And so I told George, I said, "Look, we'll get you in, not a problem. Bring Rob over. It's summertime. Bring him over. He can meet Bear, and they can get to know each other." And so they tossed the ball around and got to know each other. And they've actually been really terrific friends since then, all the way through middle school, high school, college, and to this day. So football season, I really didn't get to know George that well. But when basketball season rolled around and we're sitting in the stands watching the boys play basketball, we sit there and we started getting to know each other and chatting, and we actually have we've done a couple of different ventures prior to Make a Difference, and so we had worked together. We knew we worked together well, and we enjoyed working together. And that just made it easier. Like I said, when George called up, laid out the vision, and I went, "Whoa, that." I look at it as my swan song. I'm 66. I have this history of changing careers every 8 years. And so this is my last duty station. This is like, I guess, my swan song of sorts. And I could not have picked a better one. I mean, the opportunity to make this type of impact in the world, I never really thought I would be a part of. So it's exciting. I love it. It gets me juiced to get up and get into work every morning and, pound the rock. And it's just, it's very fulfilling.
Definitely. Steve, is there a specific point in time in your life that you feel like was a turning point that had a massive impact on you personally that ultimately led you to being here at Make a Difference and having the, not only obviously financial background perspective, but also the altruistic desire to follow through on a mission like what Make a Difference has?
I'm going to have to answer that in a really cryptic way because I can't. There's some things we're working on that I can't reveal at this time, but some of the things that we're doing here tie into a long-term dream that I had a little over 20 years ago. And so all of a sudden, something that I never thought was going to be able to happen, I could see it coming together. And it's really exciting. And when we get to that point and we get to roll that out, I'll look forward to coming back and having another conversation to finish this part of it. But there is an aspect of what we're doing that really ties into, I guess you might call it on the long-term, bucket list. But it'd been such a long time, I just never thought it was going to happen. Now I know what's going to happen. And it's pretty exciting.
That is awesome. Can you give us a hint as to maybe the end result this will bring?
You're going to laugh when I tell you this one, but we're going to bring the family farm back. When I say I failed at farming, that's half true. It's only a failure if you don't learn something from the experience. Mm-hmm. And I learned a whole bunch. And so I'm going to combine that knowledge with some technologies that we're developing, and it's going to absolutely bring back the family farm, which is so necessary. I mean, corporate farms running things, it's just the food's garbage. And so what we really need are, young family farms that want to get back to growing nutritious food that's grown locally, that you don't have to pick green and ship halfway around the world. And we're going to do it.
That's awesome. What motivates you to want to do something like that? Because it's obviously not for profit, right? This is your last duty station, like you said. So what's motivating you and inspiring you to want to bring back family farms, like you said, and create more independence for individuals?
I'm very independent. Always been a very independent person. That's why I've, other than working at the winery, I've been in business for myself. That's just how I'm built. And I love to see independence grow. I love to see people to be able to do that. And so I don't like it when large corporate interests crush the little guy. So being a part of turning that tide, I mean, how could you not get excited about that? It's like a fantasy, but it's real. I mean, that's how real the stuff that we're doing here. That is going to be the real outcome, is making, ground moving shifts in the way that society views a lot of things: energy, communications, food. It's going to be, it's really revolutionary.
It almost sounds too good to be true. It's like the kind of impact we're talking about is so massive. It's hard to quantify.
It is. Matter of fact, I mean, I love numbers. So I get onto something and all of a sudden I'll pull up an Excel sheet and 20 pages and 50 formulas later, I'm trying to analyze, what that all means. And it's staggering. I'll just tell you, it's staggering. I mean, the already what we have on our plate is the amount of capital that we can deploy right now would it's almost unbelievable. Seriously, what we've got going, and we're just scratching the surface. This is so huge. And admittedly, we're flying a lot of things under the radar right now, and for good reason. But when it's all revealed, and people see how it all ties in together, it's going to be really cool. So, what's my motivation? That was your first. That's where you started with this. Everyone leaves a mark. Everyone leaves a mark behind. So, how do you want your grandkids to remember Grandpa? I mean, he's the guy that started a business and went off and made a bunch of money. It's I don't know. Or my grandpa made a huge impact in a positive way on how people can live and thrive and have independence. That's pretty cool. See, that's what, assuming I ever have grandkids, but that's what I usually only throw that dig in when my daughter and son-in-law are around. But anyway, that is the type of thing that drives me. What are you going to leave behind? Are you going to leave a mark? Is it going to be one that not just you're proud of, but your grandkids will be proud of?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And you feel like make a difference is just a core part of your purpose in life. Like, this is what you were here to do.
It's really weird, man. It's the way it has all come together. All of the roads that I've come down that led me here, all of them brought a piece of the puzzle into the skill set and the knowledge base that was needed to put all this together. That combined with just the right set. I mean, we've got George, we've got Walt, we have me. We're three completely different guys with completely different backgrounds and completely different skill sets that happen to complement each other very well. And it just makes it makes it more complete. Mm-hmm. Now, to round that out, we've surrounded ourselves with a fantastic team of people, and I got to tell you, the culture of our office is unlike anyone I've ever been in. We're all aligned with the mission. We're all pulling it the same way. Everyone works hard. There's no such thing as it's not my job. There's no such thing as, well, let me put it this way. I say this all the time. I only work days that end in a Y, because if you love what you're doing as much as we do, it's just really not work, and it's just something that you really don't stop thinking of.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely. Well, Steve, switching gears here a little bit, you mentioned the directors you work with and how awesome they are. So Walt Teeter and George Wentz being the core managing directors aside from yourself. Can you tell us maybe a little bit about who they really are? Like, what's a story or a trait about them that that nobody else does publicly yet that you can share? What really makes the essence?
You had to qualify it by saying that I could share.
Sure.
Well, first off, so George, who was the visionary, okay, he's the one that just woke up one day and said, you know what, I've been putting these deals together for fat cats, just making them fatter for decades. And it's time that we actually start working for the little guy, which that resonated with me too. But his background is he's been a hugely successful attorney for his entire career, starting in 1983. I mean, he slayed Fortune 500 companies. I'll have to let you have him tell you the stories because they're pretty cool. But I mean, I'm talking about, well, Fortune 500, maybe even some Fortune 100s in there. And he's just he's a brilliant litigator. He's inspired by a lot of the same things. You know, he loves independence. He loves to be able to see people thrive, and he's not a big fan of living under the corporate thumb. So anyway, he's just a really brilliant guy that has he has garnered an amazing amount of respect, actually around the world, but certainly in the United States for his legal mind. But it's not just that. He looks at let's call it a problem or a situation a lot more globally. It's not always just a legal answer. There's sometimes other ways to resolve an issue, and he'll bring a lot of tools in to be able to get a satisfactory result. Where a lot of, I mean, most attorneys that I know are just rather single focused. They're just single focused on the law. And George is not only does he have the legal background and expertise, but he also looks at, what do we want for an outcome? What's the most effective way to get there? And what's, quite frankly, the most cost-effective way to get there? So he might bring other assets in to be able to solve a problem, whether it be, political or consultants or whatever it takes. And so he's really quite brilliant and humble at the same time. Of course, I always feel obligated to keep him humble, but that's just part of our relationship. Sure. Now, Walt, on the other hand, who is just that and we work together really well, mostly because we share the same dopey sense of humor, and Walt is an absolute brilliant guy when it comes to the actual structure of putting a project together and getting it done, from the concept to a sketch on a napkin to a formal, full-blown, designed and permitted project, and then getting it built. He's been involved with every major LNG project on the planet, and he is world-renowned. If anybody needs the top man in that field, they're going to call Walt. So he was the perfect guy to bring in, and his team. I mean, he's got a team of guys that are all, energy experts. So he's the perfect guy to come in and help implement a lot of these projects and strategies that we have. So between the three of us, I think we have the complete picture.
Very cool. That's awesome. Is there anything else that you feel like you can share? I realize confidentiality and security and all these different things play a big factor, NDAs, into what you can and can't share. But is there anything about the entire company or the team in general that you feel like is worth sharing that maybe the public doesn't know, about who we are, what we're doing here as a whole?
Wow. I'm not really sure what I guess we has our hands tied with so many places, like you said, with either NDAs or confidentiality agreements. We have partners in some of these things, and there's just a limit as to what we can say, and that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we have. I mean, we're sharing the mission, but some of the most exciting details we just can't reveal. And that's a tough road to walk, let me tell you. We're excited. We're incredibly excited because we know what we're working on. We know what's going to come out the other end. And so we can talk in bits and pieces and generalities, but at this time, we're not able to talk in specifics. The time will come. The time will come. And it will be it'll blow people's minds.
Awesome. With our last minute here, is there anything else you'd like to share to sum this up and leave our audience with?
If you're drawn to the mission, I think that's first and foremost. There's the few people that they want to start the conversation with. Well, that's a really great project. How much am I going to make on that project? They're just looking for money-making deals. Now, our deals are money makers. But the people that are really closely aligned to what we're doing actually want to talk about the mission. And the best partners that we have are the ones that are most closely aligned with the mission. So I think that attracting those people is probably the most important thing that we can do. They know who they are, and they've watched what we're doing, and they say, you know what, that's what I want to be a part of. That's what I want to be a part of. That's what I want my grandkids to be talking about when I'm gone, and said, my grandma or my grandpa was part of this. And those are the people that we seem to attract. And I think those are the people that we should attract. Those are the ones that we want to attract.
Excellent. Steve, this was a great interview. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. And you know that I'm never short for words, so just ask me anytime.
All right. Thanks.
MAD is the people's answer. Join one of our upcoming live streams at discovermad.com. Smash that like button, subscribe, share this video, and head on over to mad.energy to invest and join the movement.